So, what do y'all want to talk about? We got our AEW Revolution preview. Gonna talk about this past SmackDown, the road to WrestleMania, and so much more. We are powered by Fast Break Coffee. We are the High Spot Podcast. HSP is back here on the Gives a Shot Network. I am Jeff Martin alongside the Trendsetter, Brian Berger, the guy that puts all this thing together for us. What's going on, man? How you doing? The road to WrestleMania draws near. So much to discuss. We're going to talk about AEW Revolution this Sunday.
A lot to talk about, Jeff. But honestly, I'm feeling a lot better. I sound a lot better from the last time we did this, so I'm thankful for that. But again, it's just an exciting time just to see everything going around. Whether it be we're talking about the road to WrestleMania, what's going on at AEW, and we're going to preview their show Revolution, Sting's final match, and what TNA's doing, New Japan Pro Wrestling, a lot of great time content to talk about. Just not enough time to do it, but what a great problem to have. So excited to do the show here. Excited to talk about the road to WrestleMania and previewing AEW.
Guys, like and subscribe to the show on High Spot Podcast. Make sure you follow us on the Give Us a Shot Network. Subscribe there. And we're available on all podcast platforms, from your Apple Podcast to your iHeart to your Spotify. You can listen to the High Spot Podcast whenever you can. Guys, download, subscribe. We ask you because we are on the road to WrestleMania. We're covering everything. We're going to start off with AEW Revolution. And, of course, everything is surrounding Sting's final match, but there's other matches, of course, on this card. So let's get to it, man, because, again, we have a lot to get to. Let's start off first. Let's start it off with 0 Hour. We've got that matchup with the tag team matchup with Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander teaming up against Julia Hart and Sky Blue. You know I love me some Sky Blue, Trendsetter. Obviously, Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander now have aligned with Stokely Hathaway. Go figure, right? But it's a good opening matchup to get us ready before Revolution. So a tag, I think no one is hotter right now than Sky Blue and Julia Hart. So give me them for the win, Trendsetter, because you know I'm going to go with some Sky Blue.
I would agree with you. Some Sky Blue right now. She's been trending, no pun intended, in
Definitely.
popularity, and the push they're giving Julia Hart as well. Why wouldn't you go that route? So I see them winning this one. Will and Nightingale, Chris Statlander, good combination, but don't think them going to be victorious coming out on this one.
All right, so there's supposedly there was a meat pack challenge or something, and guys like Miro and Keith Lee, of course, are injured or not there, and so it had to be reworked, refixed for some other time. So you got a matchup here, an 8-man all-star matchup here, where the winner will get a shot at the world title. Hence, there's no reason for the AEW rankings, but you've got guys like Jericho, Will Hobbs in the matchup. You've got Wardlow. You've got Magnum, Magnus, Magnum. That's mine in the gutter. You got Magnus. You've got. Hopefully, we'll see if Pentagon can, qualify on Collision. We'll see if that happens. It's either him, Martin, or Brian Keith. We'll see what happens there. But you have a star-studded one. Lance Archer's involved. So it's a lot of big dudes. I don't know how Chris Jericho falls into that category. But, I mean, you would think that when you think of Wardlow and you think of that promo and how crazy he delivers a fiery promo, a really good promo for the first time in a long time, and it seems like, okay, he's back on track. And then for that matchup to get canceled, and now he's put in this matchup, you would think an automatic shot at the world title, that's definitely what the Undisputed Kingdom wants. That's what they need. This is the guy that's going to carry that world championship eventually, sooner than later. So why not just put it on Wardlow now? I don't think there's any. I mean, Brian Cage is in it as well, but to me, it just would make so much sense for that a future world title opportunity go to the guy that, if you want to eventually push down the road, that be Wardlow. So I would say it would really make common sense, and that's something that me and you are trying to do in this world of professional wrestling nowadays. Common sense would say Wardlow should be the guy to win this matchup.
Listen, logic doesn't appear to work in professional wrestling anymore from our experience, Jeff, right? Wardlow, yeah. I mean, listen, there was a time where he had so much momentum going for him, even as a heel, and then eventually turned into a babyface that you're like, why wouldn't you put this, title on him? Why wouldn't you at least, tease it possibly even more that it could possibly happen where you get more opportunities rather than just one shot. But I think something happened where somewhere down the line, he just lost the connection with the audience. I mean, I'll be honest with you too. As much as people wanted him to turn on MJF at the time, and then he did, and it was an exciting moment. I think they lost a lot of momentum. Or listen, I don't know how creative works over there in any field, obviously, but you like to think that it was a missed opportunity because I feel like it was handled incorrectly, and he just lost a lot of momentum. And then he would have his matches with Samoa Joe, and listen, I know I don't compete in the ring or anything like that, but they were for me lackluster at best because it really just didn't seem like a good flow, and I think that's what kind of lost him a lot of momentum. So him coming back, yeah, he had a fire promo that was pretty good. Actually, showcased a little bit more of his personality and talked about things that you think, oh wow, it makes you question in the toes the line of reality. All right, was he supposed to say that? Is this a shoot type of thing? I just feel right now that a lot of momentum has been lost on Warlow. So yes, you pit the question there, like why not? It's understandable if you go in that direction, but I just feel like he's just lost so much momentum right now that it just
Well,
it's easy to say it wouldn't make sense, but to me it wouldn't make sense.
take a look at the names, and I'll read it out here just to give you, just to give you the full names here. Wardlow, Hobbs, Jericho, Magnus, who's a CMLL guy, Hook, Lance Archer, Brian Cage, and then by this time comes out, we'll find out if it's Pentagon, Brian Keith, or Dante Martin. But that's somebody else that's in there. I mean, Brian Cage is like I said. I mean, yeah, there's a ceiling there. Do you see him with a future world title? Well, if they want to keep it on Joe, right? A guy like Hook had a very good matchup against Samoa Joe, so he could do it. Jericho, we've seen Jericho already. Just maybe who wrestles? Is it Corazon de Leon? Is it the Ocho, Chris Jericho? Maybe that's the only thing left to do, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the names, Lance Archer. I mean, okay, they've never really gone all out with him. Hobbs, this is a guy that it would be another guy that if it's not Wardlow, this would be the second guy that I would want to push, right? Because if they want to push stars and they want to make stars, these would be the two guys. I'm just going to go with Wardlow because I think his promo, you don't want to stop and start too much with this guy, or else you're not going to believe in him. Yeah, and so I think Wardlow is the key, but Hobbs would be also another great one here.
It would be, but this isn't because I'm such a huge lover and component and I've admired this guy for his entire career. But I think honestly, I think it's pitted either for Pentagon, not really though, but for Chris Jericho. Just because he said it himself several times in interviews that he's never gone for a world title, never been world champion as a babyface. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but if he was claiming another shot at the world title, and let's say it was pitted against Samoa Joe, that's something we've never seen before. And this is just something to help establish Samoa Joe now. And people are going to be like, well, how can you establish Samoa Joe? He's already a made name. Not necessarily. If he works with a guy like Chris Jericho, it can only help elevate his title reign and for however long it is. So I really feel the wild card, I guess, or people who are overlooking it when you look at this whole, and when you said Lance Archer, I was surprised. Like, he was still with the company. No joke there. I thought his time was done, and he came back all of a sudden. And talk about a guy who's misused in that sense as well too. I think it's Chris Jericho. I think he's going to pin himself where he's going to position himself for the world title. Will he win it? I don't know, but that's a good story to have there. Him, Samoa Joe. There is history there in terms of how they've gone to this journey in pro wrestling, and I don't think they really worked much together. So that would be an interesting dynamic to have Samoa Joe and Chris Jericho if Samoa Joe defends his title.
If you want the veteran kind of way and go that way, yeah. But I would just say, hey, listen, it's Wardlow here, man. Let's do this. Let's push the trigger.
Here's the thing: if Samoa Joe beats a guy like Chris Jericho, it doesn't hurt Chris Jericho. But if he beats a guy like Warlow and Hobbs, I think for Warlow, you can make the case, oh, if you won the title, then hey, what does that do for Samoa Joe's reign after all he went through to get the title from MJF? And then Hobbs,
where are the Undisputed Kingdom been? Where have they been right now? I mean, with Roderick Strong, we'll talk about that matchup coming up against Orange Cassidy, but where have they been? They've kind of been on the back burner since they beat MJF and all that stuff, and Samoa Joe took the title from MJF, but they've kind of been in the background too. So I would accelerate that and really push Undisputed Kingdom into that position where you have a guy that has that future World Championship opportunity, and that's why I think that Wardlow would be the guy that's ideal. But you can't go wrong with Jericho. If you're gonna stick with a long Samoa Joe run, you're gonna need opponents for Samoa Joe. So I think Chris Jericho winning there would make sense. But man, I would just.
Do you think for Undisputed Kingdom though, a lot of it has to do with the timetable, how long it's going to take Adam Cole to get back?
I think it works well because if Adam Cole's not going to come back anytime soon, then you keep that title on Wardlow, and then you create the dissension between Adam Cole and Wardlow. And the longer it goes, the more of a title run that Wardlow has, the more meaningful that matchup is going to be. But if your key is to make Samoa Joe a lengthy title run, then a guy like Chris Jericho absolutely makes sense. I wouldn't have a young guy win that one in case if that's the way you're going to go about it. So if Jericho has one final run in him, that would be the way to go. But if you really want to accelerate this Undisputed Kingdom, I would definitely push the button on Wardlow or Hobbs, but either or. But there you go. So that is that 8-man All-Star Challenge. Let's go to a tag team action. FTR against Claudio and Moxley, the BCC. I want to be correct on the 3 letters that I use there. Any interest in this match, Trendsetter? Obviously, listen, FTR, very decorated tag team. Been on the short end of the stick a lot recently in AEW. And, of course, Moxley and Claudio. And I'll just put it out there, man, part of in my opinion, one of the most overrated factions in all of pro wrestling history in the BCC. I hope FTR wins this one. I'm not holding my breath. I'm going to go Moxley and Claudio come out victorious. And in their minds, the BCC, the best faction in the world, get the victory.
I hate agreeing with you, right? But I have to agree with this one too. I just don't know. Talk about something that I take pride in and I love so much is tag team wrestling. And I don't know, FTR just hasn't been the same, they went to that lengthy babyface run now, and it just seems like
Once Punk left.
Once Punk left, it kind of changed a little bit too. But also, it's fair to say too that when you saw all the titles they had, like they've kind of accomplished everything as a team now. So it's like, okay, this is does it benefit them for a win anymore? Not really. Does a loss hurt them? Not really. And what they're doing with Moxley and Claudio,
I have no freaking idea.
I have no idea. I have no idea. So if I were just to pit this on paper and who I think it makes sense to win, I'd say Moxley and Claudio right now, because if you're going to extend this rivalry, you don't want, FTR just to win it right away. And I'm sure there's going to be some shenanigans going on there too in terms of the victory and stuff like that. But if we're going to make this a lengthy run, I say Claudio and Moxley for the win.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer. I like to think that FTR kind of maybe gets restarted here, but I don't see that. The AEW International Championship is on the line. It's going to be Roderick Strong of the Undisputed Kingdom against the champion Orange Cassidy. Obviously, we talked about Orange Cassidy before, and whether you like him or not, he has been a fighting champion. He is very entertaining. He had an amazing 2023, and now the question is, like we were talking about before with Wardlow, are you going to pull the trigger and make the Undisputed Kingdom the faction in AEW? Matt Taven is good. Mike Bennett, also good, but you got to bring championships about titles to make this faction. I definitely see Roderick Strong bringing gold to this faction, to the Undisputed Kingdom, and I think that we're going to get a title change at Revolution.
It's the evolution, right? Why not? This is where I disagree with you. I don't think it's going to happen. Everything you said when we talked about Warlow and then this scenario here with Roderick Strong, I think there will be preview and teases to that, because I think that's what's going on here with Revolution. I don't think it's going to happen just yet, because if we have anybody win it, from how I would design it from a tag teams, from a faction standpoint, is I would want to win the tag team gold first, then an individual title, and then one of the main titles as you slowly build up the dominance of this faction. The reason why I say that is like, let's go to, I know people are going to hate me when I say this, let's look at the WWE side of it, right? You have the Bloodline. Usos won the tag team titles. Then individual title there. Let's look at
Aren't they the Ring of Honor tag team champions? Or you not consider that?
I consider that a title, but not in terms of AEW. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, the Judgment Day, they won the tag team titles first, and then you had individual victories from Damian Priest and stuff like that. I just think that's the way you want to build the dominance of a faction, and not win a major title first and then go for secondary titles.
Tony's not going to go for AEW model, though.
No, he doesn't. He's never gone through an AEW model, too. So I just don't think it's going to happen right away in Revolution. It'll be previews there of what's going to happen, because I think Roderick Strong or the United Kingdom, the Undisputed Kingdom, are not done yet.
These factions are tongue twisters.
They are, man, and you want to say them right in case you want to get in trouble. But I think it's a preview. I don't think Roderick Strong wins this one. I think it's going to be a good match. And I think right now I just feel like there's so much stock in Orange Cassidy as champion in terms of his lengthy reign as champion that I don't think they want to end it anytime soon right now.
I'm going to ask you this, and straight up, this is my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So Will Ospreay was a huge signing for AEW. Obviously, his first appearance as a member of the AEW roster this past Wednesday night on Dynamite. Obviously, there's no doubt about his in-ring ability and his promo work, whether you like it or not. I think it's above average. I think he can entertain us. I think he can cut a promo. But just the way he was brought in, would you have rather waited for him to make his official debut at Revolution, or did you want that interaction with, Kazuchika Takashita? Because Jim Cornette's got me all messed up here. So I want to give him the proper respect because he does deserve it. He is a very good talent. But would you have rather had Will Ospreay maybe just debut at the Revolution, or did you think it was necessary to do the Dynamite? And this is a match I'm looking forward to. Actually, these two guys it's going to be good. The Don Callis family. I don't know why you would purposely want your family to implode. Obviously, it's because they want Ospreay to be babyface. But what do you think of that scenario? Do you think they should have waited till Revolution?
You can look at both sides, right? But for my opinion, yeah, I think they should have waited till Revolution to showcase him.
Yeah.
But I think from Tony or creative standpoint is you wanted him on a Dynamite because more people are looking at that to preview and look at the match. I guess, he doesn't, as much as it's a great signing, Jeff, I don't feel Will Ospreay has still that big enough a name for general audience fans to know. And if you're going to try to introduce him prior to that, and people are going to watch Revolution and say, who is this guy? At least you had some form of introduction. Granted, you could do packages previews to do that, but I think that's kind of the reason why they want it. So I can understand why they did it. I don't agree with it. I feel that if you're going to have a huge signing like Will Ospreay and you're going to make it a monumental debut, why not do it in one of your biggest pay-per-views of the year, Revolution? Tailing the fact that's going to be Sting's last match. I'm like, why wouldn't you want to do that? But because the audience at Revolution are going to know who Will Ospreay is. They're going to go crazy for his music. They're going to go crazy for the match. But I would have waited. But I understand why they did it, though.
Again, too, and here's the thing, too, where like I love the matchup because I know these two guys, right? And obviously, a lot of respect to Takashita because he just has earned it. But for the common wrestling fan, the novice one that's going to watch this because they're going to watch Sting and they know Sting, but when they see these guys, is this going to be a great way to introduce Will Ospreay right off the bat? While yes, the wrestling fan is going to love the crap out of this matchup, should have they put him in with a higher profile guy? Maybe with like a Moxley or something like that? Or do you think that this is, again, just Tony maybe kind of dropping the ball on having Ospreay's first matchup on the AEW roster against Takashita?
I honestly think Tony was doing it more for the fact of what kind of match you're going to get out of it. These two working together, I think you're going to have a really great match. When you say like you pin with Moxley or higher level or higher known commodity in AEW, I just don't think the creative does it that way, though. I think they do it more for who's going to have the best match on the card as opposed to, the biggest name or the most recognizable person on there. I just think that's the way they do matchmaking. There are matchmakings where you do storylines, and this isn't a knock on AEW. Hey, everyone does it their own way, right? People want to do matches based on stories, based on backstories, so people can build up to the match and anticipate it for the story you're presenting to it. For AEW, I feel like they really kind of just look at it and hit it in terms of, wow, these two individuals, we know how great they are. Let's put them together in the ring at the same time and then have fans enjoy the match, which is great. I mean, if you're a huge wrestling fan, you're going to love watching this. And like I said, it's going to be a great match, in my opinion. But I don't think the general audience that's going to watch Revolution, based on the fact that it's going to be Sting's last match, are going to look at it and say, who's Will Ospreay and who's this guy? I have no idea who they are because they probably don't watch Dynamite. Or if they did, they didn't see it on the show and don't know the build up towards what they're doing here. So
I'm saying that you're gonna have more heads watch this because of Sting's last match. And don't come at me and say, hey, but he's wrestled Jericho before it all in. He's wrestled Kenny Omega. Yes, of course. But let's be honest. Technically, that was under the New Japan. He was under New Japan. Right, so it was Forbidden Door, and he was part of the New Japan roster. This is the first chance you're going to get to watch him. Outside of that, you want to introduce him as your guy, and then you're going to have him in a place where the novice fan or the old school fan that remembers Sting is going to watch this pay-per-view. And so you want to make sure, okay, Will Ospreay, let me look at this guy. I would have maybe pulled it off against maybe a Moxley. Maybe the styles maybe would not have clicked. But even maybe like an Orange Cassidy rematch again. But like you said, this is more garnered to the wrestling fans going to buy this because they want to see Will Ospreay and they want to see a heck of a match. So I cannot blame you for that. Now, going into that though, Will Ospreay, we know that the sky's the limit for this guy. I just don't see him losing in his first matchup as part of the AEW roster. So I'm going to go Will Ospreay.
Me too. I'm going to go Will Ospreay too. If they're going to be shenanigans, he's going to win by disqualification because, again, you're trying to protect Don Callis' family. So I see it that way. But Will Ospreay, one way or the other, is going to be victorious in this match, whether it be through clean pinfall or, because how much is it going to hurt Takahashi, right? If you do that. So, sorry.
I know what you're doing. You
Mhm.
just want to make sure you don't want to sound like corny and mess up his name.
Exactly. That's what I did. I'm guilty of that. I'm sorry. But yeah, I think Will Ospreay comes out victorious in this match too. This could be one that steals the show, honestly. This is going to be a really good match. The way these two work.
Totally. And you're going to see the eventual babyface push for Will Ospreay. All right, a matchup that honestly doesn't do it for me, and that is for the AEW Continental Crown Championship, the champion Eddie Kingston against Bryan Danielson. Obviously, a lot of people are going to love this matchup, but to me, it just doesn't do anything. Bryan Danielson, you're talking about heel face. I have no clue what he is. I know Eddie Kingston's a baby face from what I know, and I watch AEW as much as I can, but I know Eddie's the baby face. So what is Bryan Danielson? Like that shade of gray, or is one day he decides to be baby faced and he decides to take on a legend and then kick him in the nuts and then decides to take on all the different guys. I mean, I don't know what he is. So I mean, this is to me, not my cup of tea. But at the end of the day, I think they you're laughing. I know, because I can't wait to hear what you say. I don't want to talk about so much about this matchup, so I'm just going to say that Bryan Danielson beats Eddie Kingston, and I think that we're going to see now finally the BCC, the BCC. Hopefully that they come out and become a stronger faction too by winning a championship, bringing a title to that organization.
You can call it an organization all you want. You just said it yourself. What is Bryan Danielson, right? What is he? Is he a face? Is he a heel? I tell you what Bryan Danielson is. He's a hypocrite. That's what he is. He's a hypocrite because he's the kind of guy that, how can I say this? I have 100% respect for his wrestling ability and what he's done in the ring, right? And what he can do in the ring. But this whole scenario of him being this, on camera comes off as looking like a scumbag. And from a lot of reports, it is kind of true. He loves busting balls in the back and stuff like that. So for me, hey, congratulations to Bryan Danielson because he's extending a career that most people thought was kind of over at this stage of his life, right? And obviously everything he had to deal with to compact those things. I'll have tremendous amount of respect for Bryan Danielson, but I think when it comes to his character standpoint, he's a complete a hypocrite in everything he does. And listen, he has become to me the equivalent of what Big Show was in the WWE, where he just flip flops back and forth from face to baby heel, heel to face, all this stuff. It makes no sense. And this is kind of, I think, where the frustration lies a lot in.
You can't hate him because he's Bryan Danielson or Daniel Bryan.
Oh, I can hate him. Yeah, I can hate him because I think he's a hypocrite. I really do. I think he's a hypocrite in terms of how he now whether it's part of the character or not, I have no idea. But how he likes to mess with people and then question their toughness and question their ability to perform in the ring. Listen, everyone has a different way and different style. And to me, it's like, hey, Brian, it's great. You have a great style. Shut up and just do your style. Stop having to critique other people because nobody wants to hear your opinion. I mean, for a guy who went in saying that, I had no expectations and I didn't have any goals set in my mind, similar to like a Jay Lethal, right? He has a lot of opinions. And honestly, nobody wants to hear his opinions, especially me. So be a hypocrite, Bryan Danielson, and just shut up. And in this one, I think, honestly, I agree with you. I think Bryan Danielson's going to win because they're pitting this whole respect thing between Eddie, similar to his rivalry with Claudio, too, like where he was like really upset and angry with Claudio. This whole respect factor, and Bryan Danielson being this defiant guy of slapping people and spitting in people's faces, it's going to get there. And I think, I think they're going to make it out as Bryan Danielson's going to win and then build that road for Eddie Kingston to get that one final one for the rubber match. So I think this isn't the end of it, but Bryan Danielson comes out victorious.
Hey, listen, I want to tell you, I want to give you props for what you did. You were able to drown out me wanting to interject in your opinion, and you were able to just drown me out. You did not let me. I
Yeah.
mean, that's freaking radio 101 there. You're able to keep. I wanted to say that Brian Danielson will be the first one to tell you how much he loves Brian Danielson.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, go to the press conferences and listen to him. Listen and kiss his ass, and he loves it.
He
He loves
loves it. He too.
loves to be told how much of a genius he is. He loves to be told how much he loves his. They love his matches. He loves it. He
Yeah.
loves. Who wouldn't want their ass kissed? But obviously, Brian Danielson is up there. So yeah. So there you go. My matchup that I do want to watch because of one man, because of Christian Cage. Christian Cage at TNT Championship. I wish he was my dad. And literally, um, Christian Cage and
Wow.
Garcia for the TNT Championship at Revolution. I don't know, Trendsetter. I think I smell shenanigans. I think that the way that they're on board this Daniel Garcia hype train, which I gotta say, I love his dances, but anything else impressed me? Not so much. Boring on the mic. I fall asleep when he talks. And you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna give him the championship. They're gonna have Adam Copeland come out and cost Christian Cage the TNT championship, and they're gonna put the strap on that guy. So I'm gonna say Daniel Garcia wins, and I think that's the first upset, which I shouldn't. It shouldn't. We should get more Christian Cage, but I think they're gonna do it. I think they're gonna screw Christian Cage, and they're gonna put the strap on that guy.
Mm, 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 mm. I can't do it. I don't have the hip movement for it, even though I'm Latino, right? I'm getting too up there in age. But no, I don't. I see your point. I mean, listen,
Am I too harsh
the
on Garcia?
hmm?
Am I too harsh on Daniel Garcia?
No, not at all. I think you make valid points in terms of like, listen, his in-ring ability is he's awesome in the ring. I just think, like I said, his personality, but without that dance going, that's all he's really got going for him right now. Because I've heard him do promos, I heard him try to connect and tell emotional stories, and I don't feel a connection there. And that's probably why you're falling asleep when you're hearing him talk or doing promos or anything like that. Just some people have it, some people don't. I'm not saying he can't have a personality. I just think we haven't seen it yet. But the hype train that people are getting on this is ridiculous. And you call shenanigans. I don't quite see it that way. I feel that they've had too much invested in Christian Cage, and he's done such a great job as being that guy you just hate and want to see lose. That if you do that and then switch the title back and forth like that, I don't think it works right now. I think the chase is more enjoyable. Similar to people wanting to chase their dreams and finish their stories, I think when you have someone like Daniel Garcia, who the fans are completely behind, go after something and then get robbed out of it. Even though you're right, Adam Copeland could be a factor in this and try to help out too, but just comes up short. It's just going to create more of a buzz, more of momentum, more people getting behind Daniel Garcia, similar to kind of like what they did with Orange Cassidy too, where Orange Cassidy was never supposed to be in the position he's in. We just talked about him and Roderick Strong in terms of being champion, and now he's had a lengthy title reign, and people just love the effort that he has, even regardless when he was chasing the title or was chasing a win over a higher name caliber opponent. So in
Yeah.
this scenario here, I see the same thing for Daniel Garcia. I see him not coming out victorious. I see Christian Cage retaining with help from everyone involved. And that's been kind of the moniker of Christian Cage too. Just when you think you got him beat, something gets pulled out of the hat and he keeps winning. And so I see Christian Cage coming out victorious.
So I think what they want to do, I don't think it's about Garcia and Christian Cage as more as it is about getting Copeland, Adam Copeland, and how hard it's been for me just to call him that, uh,
Mm.
back to Christian Cage somehow. So I think that what they could do, I think what they would do would be, I think that what's in his mindset is, I think, how am I going to get Daniel Garcia to that point in 2024? We were there. I think it was the second week of New Year's, right after the pay per view from Long Island, and they had it at the Prudential Center, and we
Mhm.
talked about how Tony Khan went out of his way to talk about big things from Daniel Garcia. So I think in the long run, I think they're going to put this title on him, and I think that's what's going to lead me to believe do that, because it's kind of weird because to me, let's be honest, I respect his wrestling ability, but where I'm not sold yet is on his promos, right? I think he's the modern day Steve Blackman right now. So I think that this is going to be a way for them to do so by putting the TNT Championship on him, and then reverting back to the Adam Copeland and Christian Cage story, and then getting back to that and having him defend, have a couple title defenses. Now, I could be wrong. Obviously, why take the title out of a good thing like Christian Cage? But I just got a feeling that Garcia is going to walk out the champion.
Yeah, and again, like you make a good point there too. I just don't think the way they've built up this title and the fact that Christian's done such a great job of bringing some prestige behind it, where like it is a very valid secondary title out there for people to go after, which makes you think, okay, if you win this title, you're just only a few. Not that long far from the world title picture too. I just think Dan Garcia, and this isn't a knock to him though too. But if you have a guy like Dan Garcia win, um, wouldn't you want to wait for somebody who you think is an up and comer who's going to be the next star? Who knows? Maybe they think it is Daniel Garcia to win that title, similar to a lengthy championship run. You have to pick the guy you feel is right to end that run of dominance, because that's going to propel them up to a higher standard. If that is Daniel Garcia, I don't see it. I don't think it's going to be him, and I think it's going to be a stepping stone where this loss will help him, because it's going to cause more people to want to root for him to go for the title again if he gets another chance.
All right. We got the AEW Women's Championship on the line in this one, and again, love me some Toni Storm, some timeless Toni Storm against Deonna Purrazzo. Listen, I'll be honest, Deonna Purrazzo to me is really a legit contender for this. Obviously, this is to me in a long time a matchup that I'm really going to invest in and watching, because this is a legitimate threat to Toni Storm's championship. Can she pull it off? I don't think so, because I just think it's a time. But as far as Trendsetter, we know that Mercedes Moné is on her way, right? It's worst kept secret in Boston. She will be there. Worst kept secret. We know that they are into signing more women's free agents. I think that is something that in 2024 they want to get better at. I think that this is a step in the right direction. So I think this is going to be a very good matchup. I think this might be maybe a show stealer in its point, maybe some way or some form that can compete to that. But at the end of the day, I think timeless Toni Storm walks away with the victory in a very entertaining, or maybe not even entertaining, just a very good quality match that's going to reflect well on the positivity in the women's division in AEW.
I agree. I think what they're doing right now is they're doing a great job building the women's roster. What they haven't really done a good job with the women's division, though, is pitting matches where things make sense. Like, Daniel Purrazzo just walked through the door and automatically she has a title match. Not saying she doesn't deserve it, but don't you think we need to build up towards that? Build up towards a potential feud between timeless Toni Storm and Deonna Purrazzo?
They have a story, and that's something that we were getting on, or the people that are anti-AEW or are complaining about. There's a story there. So what I would think is, like, we're talking about building up people because of the rankings. Of course, they go by the rankings. But if you have a story there, go for it. Go with the story. They have that backstory. They've done a good job storytelling us into this matchup. That's why I'm invested in it. Right? They used to be friends. Toni Storm really helped Deonna Purrazzo along the way. And obviously they have those matching tattoos, which Toni Storm got, changed her matching tattoo. And they have good chemistry. And so there's a story there, and I'm interested to see what happens, but I don't see a title change at all.
Now, again, there's a story there. I just feel it's being rushed into it. Granted, it's going to happen. I don't see Deonna Purrazzo coming out victorious. I see timeless Toni Storm coming out victor, and then all of a sudden you debut Mercedes Moné, because if there's anybody is going to be a threat to her or possibly defeat her for the title, of course it's Mercedes, because as much as a great job as Toni Storm has done, I think what Tony Khan has in his mind is that once Mercedes Moné comes over and it's official and she makes her debut, she's going after the title. She's going to win it in her first shot. And at that point, she's going to be the face of the women's division.
Yep, most definitely. And then we get to the triple threat matchup for the AEW World Championship, Heavyweight Championship, and that is Samoa Joe defending against Swerve Strickland and Adam Hangman Page. So here's my thing. I think it should have just been Samoa Joe and Swerve. I don't know what Hangman Page is right now. Is he a face? Is he a heel? Are we getting... See, is Samoa Joe to you a cool heel? Or is he now just become a baby face? It's that shadow of, it's that kind of like falls into, either or. And you got Swerve Strickland that in the feud with Hangman Page was kind of turning into the face. And Hangman is another guy that, fakes an injury in the last Dynamite, and I don't know what's going on. So I think these are the, two of these guys have major character flaws as far as like whether they're heel or face, and Samoa Joe, that touch of gray. So what do they want to do? Do they want to really impede Swerve Strickland's run here to that top echelon guy or the guy by giving Samoa Joe the win here? I think they're going to go and give it to Samoa Joe. I think he's going to come out victorious here, and who knows where this is going afterwards. But if you're asking me now, right, Trendsetter, don't you think there's a problem here with the characters? Like, I don't know who, like who's the bad guy. They're all cool bad guys, I guess. They're all cool heels. So, but I'm going to go Samoa Joe.
I think honestly now in AEW, it's not about heels or baby faces anymore. I think it's everything's shaded gray, which is in life in general too, and how we're viewing pro wrestling. Like, we love to root for the bad guys. The bad guys are cool. The baby faces we want to boo because we don't like them. They're too cookie cutter, whatever you want to say, right? I think in AEW, in the world of AEW, I think that's more true in every sense. It's not about who's a good guy, a bad guy, or anything like that. It's about who do you like the most, and that's it. And but again, with those same what I just said, the respects to that is that you look at Samoa Joe and everything he did to betray MJF, to beat him down, to be this destructive heel, and now you have him face two individuals which one side's rooting for Swerve Strickland, the other side doesn't really know how to feel about Adam Hangman Page. I agree in terms of I don't think Samoa Joe is going to lose this, but he's kind of pitted in the picture where he's the babyface. You kind of want him to win because as much as people root for Swerve Strickland, and I'm going to say this in all due respect, I don't think it's going to happen for him right now. I think he still needs, and again, this is where it's confusing for me too. And this is a common thread that Jeff and I are going to have when we talk about AEW to a certain extent when we start breaking down these shows, is that with Swerve and Adam Hangman Page, it's not over yet between the two of them. It doesn't feel like it's over yet. But when you look at the record here, Swerve has dominated, despite the matches and what happened and things like that, or what was done in the matches. Swerve has beaten him every single time. And so there isn't a scenario where it's a rubber match or, 1-1-2 and the other 1-1-1 and going. I think they still need to finish that rivalry between the two of them before either one of them can move on. I think that's the reason why they put Adam Hangman Page, because if you put a scenario where you put a singles match, which, hey, I would have loved to see Swerve and Samoa, how do you protect Swerve Strickland now? Because clearly, in my opinion, he's not going to win it. I could be wrong, and he wins it, and wow, it'll be a huge celebration for his Swerve Strickland, and he earned that right to become champion, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be Adam Hangman costing Swerve an opportunity, Samoa Joe capitalizing off the rules of a triple threat match. And I used to be fans of triple threat matches, not so much anymore. But in this scenario, in this case, I guess that's the way you do to continue Samoa Joe's title reign, but also finish this whole rivalry that's still not over between Adam Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland.
Yeah, a lot of more questions than answers, I think, are going to be because of this matchup. I think that Hangman Page is there to take the pin. So
Yeah.
That's what I think. So, but we got Samoa Joe coming out on top, and then of course, to me, which should be the main event, and we saved it for last, and that is Sting's last matchup in the tag team. He'll defend the tag team titles, him and Darby Allin against Matthew, and I better say this right, or else we might get fined. The AEW EVPs Matthew and Nicholas Jackson in a tornado tag team match for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. We talked about this before. This is why everyone's going to be in Greensboro, flocking to see Sting in his final matchup. So growing up, I've always been a WWE guy. So we've always had that little attachment to the Hogans, the Warriors, and we learned about guys like Ric Flair, guys like Sting. I was always the kid that wanted Sting to come to WWE, but he was loyal. He was a good soldier with WCW, stuck in there. And then when he could have gone after that, he went to TNA. And then after TNA, then I guess the logical sense was Sting go to WWE. But when he went there, I would say, man, it was leaning towards A from his debut at the Survivor Series. And then it went down to maybe a C at the end of it. And then part of it also, too, was the Seth Rollins, causing him that injury, that neck injury where he thought he wouldn't be able to go. And maybe that was the reason why we never got Sting and Undertaker. I think we were robbed as fans. Thank you, Vince, on your way out. That's probably he's done horrible stuff. But as far as the wrestling aspect, that's probably one of his biggest crimes in not giving us Undertaker and Sting. So at the end of the day, yes, I congratulate the man Steve Borden on his tremendous and longevity. That should be admired, right? But I just was not a Sting guy, and that is not because I'm not a fan of him, just because I was a WWE guy. But give him his props, give him his flowers. The man was able to come back from that neck injury and continue to wrestle and just defy the limits of age, because the stuff that he was doing, no man in his 60s, not to mention his 50s or 40s, should be doing. And it all culminate this Sunday at Revolution. Give your props to Sting. And the question is, Trendsetter, for your last match, do you walk out with the victory, or do you do that? Because we're old school guys. Do you do the honors and pay it forward to the Young Bucks? That's the main question.
All right. So before I answer that question real quick, and we'll go on a long tangent here, I promise, that when I remember first seeing Sting, I was in awe. Surfer Sting was, to me, wow, one of the best versions. And at the transition, and I'm sure a lot of people will look at who don't know who I mean when I mean Surfer Sting, the Crow character became iconic. That's what made him an icon, I feel, the Crow character. When he left the WCW and kind of ventured on his own and was going to go after the NWO himself and became the Crow character from the movie, which did an amazing job, and that surpassed anything he's done. But I'll always remember Surfer Sting and looking at this guy, larger than life, this huge comic book character. And yes, as a WWE fan, you had the Ultimate Warrior. But the problem between Ultimate Warrior and Sting was that if you had Sting in WWE, the one thing you would have is, well, two things, right? You would have great quality matches. Warrior wasn't known for that, and it's no big secret, right, that I'm saying that. He was known for just doing what he did in the ring and then walking out and leaving. That was his shtick. And you would have longevity. Sting would have been there. There would have been this issue with what happened with Warrior. And my God, imagine the matches that Sting could have had in WWE against guys like Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Randy Savage. I know we saw some of those in WCW, but again, the list goes on and on in terms of longevity of his career to where he is now. I don't necessarily agree in terms of his career in WWE. I think it happened 10 years too late. So I agree that, it should have happened originally. But again, Steve's own insecurities prevent that from happening because he didn't want to have the name he had built up be tarnished, because at that time they were just destroying all WCW guys. And, the comment that The Rock made one time to Booker T really affected Steve or Sting to want to come to the WWE. I can understand that. But then after that was over, he still had an opportunity. So I wouldn't call necessarily his run to be a failure. It was more of an incomplete. And the reason why I mean by that is that I have a strong belief. It's never been confirmed by anybody, but for some people have talked about it. I think his match with Seth Rollins, it was pitted that Seth was going to lose to Sting, and we're going to see Sting for the first time ever win the WWE Championship. I think it was pitted for that story, but then the injury caused them to kind of change it on the fly, and then had Seth retain the title, and then that was it. The WWE was not going to take any more risk on Sting getting back into the ring, although he could theoretically still go. They didn't want to do the issue to have the issue of having to deal with him health-related injury in the ring for them, similar to what happened to Daniel Bryan. Edge, they didn't want to deal with that. They didn't want to put that on their plate. Understandably so. So I look at it as an incomplete. Had he won the WWE Championship, oh my God, every single person would have been like, that's it. You've won every single title in every company you've been in. Besides, obviously, now AEW and being the world champion. But my God, what a great moment that would have been. So I don't give it a C. I don't give it an A. I give it an I for an incomplete. As for this match right now, I'm very old school. And I think Sting is the same way as too. His way to pay respect to the business would be, listen, I'm going to go out on my shield. I think he's going to take the pin and he's going to lose, and the titles will go to the Young Bucks. Now, when you look at it too, like the EVPs have done so much that a title for them or them winning the championship doesn't really mean anything to me. It's more of just Sting doing the honors, right? But if you're Tony Khan, Jeff, and I asked you this question before, do you have nostalgia in you where you're like, although a guy like Sting or you and I say, you need to lose in your final match, that's the way it always goes, or if you're leaving the company going somewhere else, you lose your final match with the company. does he go and like, you know what? We're gonna do a different route. We're gonna have you leave as the champion, and then we're gonna vacate the titles, or Darby Allin gets a new partner. I
Yes.
think Tony Khan will lean in that direction.
So I think here, I'm glad you threw me this one because I can probably most answer it 99.99% of what's going to happen or what this is going to do. I think Tony Khan has tremendous respect for Sting. Obviously, you can tell. And listen, Tony Khan, the way he treats his wrestlers, treats the all timers is amazing. Never doubt the way Tony Khan treats guys, especially guys like Sting, right? Guys he admires, right? This Tony Khan left it to Sting to decide who he wanted to face for his final matchup. He could have picked anyone, as long as, of course, not WWE, right? But he would have tried to, and anyone from TNA, anyone from New Japan, or anybody who's a free agent. It was Sting's decision. The way everything has gone, I think everything has left it up to Sting, and I think that this is the same thing. I think while Tony Khan would love to pay homage to Sting and have him walk away as a tag team champion, I think that he's going to leave it to Sting to make the final call. And what Sting? Sting is not a selfish guy. Have you seen all the love that he's gotten this? I mean, go back to the Players Tribune. A guy like Darby Allin, like pouring his heart out into that tribute to Sting. All the voices that we just heard on the phone call where they were thanking Sting. This guy is a guy that pays it forward. And at the end of the day, he's going to leave it to Sting. And what's Sting's decision? It's no brainer. He's going to, and I know it sucks for Darby Allin, but I think Darby Allin is on board because there's going to be Darby Allin's career is just hitting, right. It's there. There's many more years for Darby Allin, but they're going to leave it up to Sting. And I think that Sting is going to make that old school decision and he's going to pay it forward. And I think he's going to get the round of applause towards the end. They're going to cheer. There's going to be tears. There's going to be wrestlers coming out, hugging him and everything like that to say his final goodbyes. But in the time honored tradition, Sting is going to obviously pay it forward and, of course, give it the win to the Young Bucks. And yes, while the Young Bucks have nothing to prove, they're in this heel phase of their run. So what would be ultimate heelish is to drive out Sting. I think it works for them because who's going to be there tomorrow? The Bucks. And I think that that's what's going to happen. I think that it'll leave it up to Sting, and Sting's going to make the final call, and you get the Bucks the new tag team champions.
Yeah, no, like I said, all this stuff, like you said, where he's going to leave it to Sting, it's going to happen. And for the Young Bucks, they're going to be there tomorrow, like you said. Not Sting. He's not going to be there tomorrow. This is it for him. And it's bittersweet too, because we thought when we saw him at the Hall of Fame, and I don't know how many years ago that was. It was the final time we'd ever see him. Not ever, but you and I had said to ourselves, "Hey, Jeff, I think you and I have seen Sting at a WrestleMania. How surreal was that? We actually saw Sting at a WrestleMania, and to see it, the luck we've had to see it, and to see his career and where it's gone, and the place that he's in his life too. It's bittersweet because with guys like, and I know the same thing will happen to me when Chris Jericho decides to retire too, though he won't retire the traditional way. He'll just stop. That's Chris Jericho's personality. You hate to see them go, but at the same time, I think it's also time as well, because as much as he's defied the laws of physics and aging, and we thought Ric Flair was the only person that found the fountain of youth, and Sting as well. I guess he shared it with Sting in terms of what he's been able to do at this stage in his career and life. You just want to see him go off in the sunset. As bittersweet as it is, I'll always look at Sting and be like, man, just that one more run, or what could have been in WWE, but he was able to have peace with it in AEW. And AEW, obviously, Tony Khan loves him. Are able to give him that. Congratulations to him. Wish him nothing but the best. What an amazing, amazing career that will never be forgotten. I know he's a Hall of Famer, but he's somebody whose legacy and will, it's always defined by the people you work with and defined by the people that carry it. But I think his legacy will never be forgotten. Sting is one of the amazing talents in this industry that I've had the privilege of watching in the late stages of his career, but always been amazed with what he's done.
Yeah, I think you were talking about Silver Sting before. I think that's my favorite Sting too.
Yeah.
I just love. I
remember too, like he would face Big Van Vader, God rest his soul, and
that's how I became.
Those matches were scary to me. I was scared in those matches.
The way they portrayed Van Vader, probably the scariest thing besides the Undertaker at that time, right? Who just starting to emerge as this this crazy larger than life figure, and you see Vader on the other side with that mask and that headpiece that would come into the ring. freaking scary. And I'm like, yo, this dude is really gonna take on this guy, right? So that's when I was thinking, like, she's so brave. He's so, and just to think that, where we are at in our age, and think that still is still going, and he's gonna culminate, makes us feel old, right? Makes us feel like, oh man. So, if anything, man, I just hope he gets through it amazing, and I just think that well deserved.
There's nothing to hold back now. It's his final match, so if he's gonna go all out, he better do it.
Didn't end it on his way. I think when you don't end it your way, you kind of feel like, no, I have to end it my way. And WWE didn't give him that option. They kind of were like, listen, take the Hall of Fame, have your moment in the sun there in Texas, get your flowers there. But part of Sting was like, no, I can still do this, man. I can, once I'm medically cleared, and they gave me the okay. Obviously, he was gonna end it on his terms, and what a run! I think that you could say. I think the one word you can mention here in this run with AEW out of anything was fun, because he gave a lot of fun moments.
Had a lot of fun, definitely.
AEW, so definitely Stinger. On behalf of the HSP podcast, we want to wish you nothing but the best in retirement. Hopefully you still stick around, man. Hopefully we still see you. But in whatever you do in the future, man, much respect here from HSP and everyone here on the Give Shot Network. All right, Trendsetter. So Tony Khan had an interesting thing to talk about as far as AEW in 2025. So he thinks that in 2025 is going to be the year where they're going to be a viable, not even just the alternative, but they're actually going to be competition. They're actually going to be on or somewhere close, because right now it's not close. The way WWE has kind of like gone ahead in this past year with the whole bloodline storyline and everything else, and just in media and everything, they're not even close right now. But by 2025, Tony Khan believes that AEW can not only just be that alternative, but can be on that WWE level to the point where like it's seriously competition. Do you take him seriously? Do you take it as tongue in cheek, or you say it to somebody that's campaigning here to get a TV deal, or do you think it's something that he believes? I gotta think it's something that he believes, but other people are shaking their head and saying, "Really, Tony? Really?" I mean,
hey, listen, it garners attention, right? It garners people talking about it. When, like, whether it be good publicity or bad publicity, it's still something, right? And so for Tony, I feel he's an individual that really believes in what he says. He believes in his convictions, as some might take it as delusional in a sense, in terms of the things he says and how he pits them, and how he does it. And again, it's no secret, we've seen the attendance happen. We've heard comments that talent are a little frustrated because they feel like things aren't changing for the better. There needs to be some change in here, and Tony thinks everything is fine, right? But in terms of that, I believe that he believes what he says. I honestly say, and this is with all due respect, that you're living in a fantasy world if you think that's true. In the span of 1 year, to turn everything around. First of all, for an individual who doesn't believe that it's gone down since its first debut and it's not the same right now, to believe everything is fine, that's one thing. That's not a good sign. And then for you to go out there and say that in 2025, in a year, you're going to be on the same level, if not, sorry, if you're going to be competition, or if not at the same level as WWE, who's done this for a really long time. This isn't me being a fanboy of WWE. I've critiqued it, and you and I have critiqued it millions of times under the old regime. And even this new regime that we really like, there are certain things that we still don't like about it. That's just part of it, right? But they have done it longer. They have revolutionized it. They have created the blueprint in terms of what you're doing, in terms of exposing it. Look at the deals they've made with Netflix. Look what they've done in terms of Vince selling the company, and now like what they're doing now with this new venture in business. They are leaps and bounds. Not even in 20 lifetimes would I think anybody would be at that level. But here's the thing too, where it's not about, this isn't slighting AEW. That I think AEW is great if they stick to what they do and what they do well. And at that point, let time dictate that. Don't think you're going to do it in the span of 10 lifetimes, accomplish and get to that same level, because it just doesn't happen that way. And so that's the concerning thing for me when I hear comments like that. Part of it, I think, is tongue in cheek. The other part of it, I think, is him just trying to ruffle feathers there too. But I think honestly, I don't see it happening. And I think if Tony makes that comment, he should really or the town should really be concerned, because that's not something that you would make. But again, I'm not going to question somebody's belief. They want to believe that, great, but I don't see it happening in 2025.
and again, too, we want both companies to succeed, right? Because it's not about wanting someone to go out of business. It's not in the 90s. There's no war. But I think honestly, though, for 2025, I think he's really banking on Okada, Ospreay, and Monet to turn things around. I just don't think that signing wrestlers or signing talent all the time is going to do it. You have to start building those people that you have already. I think that it doesn't hurt when you have talent like Okada, Ospreay, Monet, but you can't then not have any plans for them. I'm going to go and believe that Tony Khan has plans for Ospreay, has plans for Okada.
And more importantly, Jeff, sorry to interrupt you there, but don't have talent for them to work with.
Yeah.
If you bring in stars and don't have built stars within your company for them to work with, listen, Okada, Monet, Will Ospreay, they're great, but they're in the prime of their careers. So if you don't have anybody else coming in right after them, you're going to be acquiring talent over and over again. You're not building stars within your company. That's what makes a company successful long term. Real quick, you had Hogan. What happened after Hogan? You had Michaels and Bret Hart. Then you had Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, then John Cena, all that stuff. You need other people to carry the weight and the brunt of the company. You can't just keep buying stars and then putting a label of AEW on them.
Oh, you said it. You said it. You had the Hogans. Does AEW right now have someone that's larger than life?
I would say no. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head.
Hogan. Have they built a Has there anyone been that mainstream? No.
Nope.
So you have to start off with somebody. You have to have your MJF as much as he was the centerpiece of 2023. Was he on that level? Was he on that Cena level? Was he on the Roman Reigns level? Maybe in the ring, but mainstream?
Nope.
So that's what they have to do. And maybe Mercedes Moné will be that one for the women's division. Maybe she'll be that one. But history is not on their side. And speaking of history, so is this episode.
Mm-hmm.
There's your AEW preview, guys. Listen, we're going to be watching that one, watching for Sting. A lot of good stuff, and we'll obviously talk about the fallout from AEW Revolution, but it is this Sunday in Greensboro, North Carolina. It is, I believe it's sold out or to capacity for this one, and of course, well-deserved for Sting. That's going to be the main focal point, Sting in the main event. We believe it should be, and I think it's going to be by the time that we get to Revolution. Sting, on behalf of the HSP podcast, we just want to say again, thank you. Your longevity is amazing, and everything you've done, you've got all of our respect. And again, I can speak on for the guys for the Give It a Shot Network as well, because tremendous fans of you. And Trendsetter, man, we are brought to you by Fast Break Coffee, HSP podcast with your AEW Revolution preview. Follow us on all our social media at High Spot Podcast. Download, subscribe on Apple Podcasts on all major podcast platforms. And now I leave the layup for the Trendsetter to slam dunk our way out of here.
Guys, thank you so much for listening to this AEW Revolution preview. We are the Jersey Red Crew. For my tag team partner, the Scoundrel Jeff Martin, I am the Trendsetter Brian Brega. Thank you guys so much once again for listening to this episode. We'll catch you again, because remember, we do this for one reason and one reason only. We do this for you, the crew.
Can we get a Sting? Ow! Can we do that?
Woo!